This is the first episode of hopefully many of a project that I've been wanting to do called The Upside by Jana. My show now and going forward is really about just dialogue. I want it to just be as real and raw as can be. And if we can help people listening or watching, that's what I would love. This is where I'm at. Part of my purpose of my life is to reach out and listen to guest speakers that have their own life experience. And for a lot of times younger generation to listen, to understand what was and what is. If we can help, that makes me feel good and know that there's a certain purpose I'm trying to give to others. So thank you. Today I am blessed with two amazing guests, Mr. Thomas B. Griffin III and Eric Griffin, father and son. Eric is my son's godfather. I wanted to bring them here to talk to them about being Black or being African American in America then and now. I just feel that there's definitely a lot that has changed, and there's definitely a lot that hasn't, or we've gone backwards. And this is where I wanted to speak to both of them and know what they've been through, experience how they feel now, and what maybe we can do going forward. So I know they're both from Detroit. I did just ask Mr. Griffin if he was born there, and he said no. And so if you want to now say a little bit about that.
I was born in Elberton, Georgia, 1940. January 21st, 1940. We came to Detroit 1942, around September. I said September because my sister was 3 months old, and I'm 2.5 years older than her.
Mm-hmm.
We came to Detroit because of my mother's father, who my mother was an illegitimate child. So she didn't really know her father. So she had me, and he wrote to her and asked her to come and check out Detroit. Well, my mama was all for it,
Mm-hmm.
but my dad wasn't. 2 years, 9 months later, Gwen is born, she's 3 months old, and my grandfather sent her another letter with round trip tickets.
Mm.
And he said, treat it like a vacation. Come for a couple of weeks. If you like it, stay. If you don't, well, you got your ticket, you go back home. Well, when she told my dad about a vacation, he was all for that. My mom said, 2 weeks later, he went to looking at her. He didn't say nothing. So the third week, he said, well, Zep, my mother's name is Zephyr. I looked it up once. It says the east wind. It's a wind out of the east. What Zephyr is. So, well, we've had a good time. It's time for us to go back home. So my mama, she had no intentions of going back in the first place. So she said, well, Dude, I'm going to tell you, they call my daddy Dude.
Mm-hmm.
His name was Thomas B. Griffin Jr., but they called him Dude. So in the South, they call me Tommy Jr. To the day, they call me Tommy Jr. So anyway, well, my dad, he loved his family enough where he stayed.
Nice.
And that's how we got to Detroit.
Nice. And Eric, I know you were born in Detroit.
Yeah, born and raised. Thank you for having us on your podcast.
Of course.
To you and to the young man. He looks familiar, the director, producer, jack of all, everything. Zach, it's good to have you. Good for you. I appreciate you guys having us on. And 2 generations of Griffins here. There's 2 more. Hopefully we can get those 2 gentlemen to get on the podcast as well. But thank you for having us. And that was an interesting story. Listen to my father tell about his being born in Georgia and coming to Detroit. I know another side of the story when he was about 9, 10, 11, 12, and lived with his grandmother for a period of time. And that's an interesting story as well. And I was raised by my mother's mother primarily, but my father's mother, Zephyr, as he referred to, spent many weekends, many summers, and that was my grandmother that everybody said, your mommy dear, your mother's mother, she could make a table set for a king and queen, all laid out and everything's all fancy looking and food's all in proportion. And said, but Zephyr, she could make some food and throw it on the floor, and people would break their neck down there to try to get it.
Was that good?
That good.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but thank you for having us. And, I'm a Detroit, Michigan born and raised, although I've been living in California since the early 80s. So I've been living more in California than I have in Detroit, although Detroit, for those that know me, that's my home.
Right.
Still have property there, still have a lot of family there. So, that's always going to be home, but this is my home.
What's it like in Detroit for, I'll say, Black men back in the day versus now? And then, Eric, for you, what was it like growing up in Detroit as a young Black man and then moving here and then being here in LA, and what it's like? Because this is really what I'm trying to get across. For me, it just bothers me. I keep thinking, we're supposed to move forward and we keep going backwards. Then you move forward and then keep going backwards. So I just would love to hear, I guess, some of the stories and then how you feel now.
Well,
and keep it real. I'm serious.
Detroit. That's home to me. I love Detroit. It's been a city of depression. Black people from the white police departments, which at first you don't understand why. And then you get older and things start coming to you. You see, it's not just the police. Sure, the police is doing the damage, you can call it that. But they've been told, it's been passed down, because they can't run nothing. Everything is run comes from the higher up, Give you a story once. I'm coming home from a friend's house, a couple of blocks away. It's not even dark. Usually it'd be dust dark when I come home. But it wasn't dark for some reason. I must have something to do. So I'm crossing Davidson, which is a main street. And when I get to cross Davidson, when I get to the other side, police was pulling up. It's a light. The light stopped them, if you want to say that. Well, I let down the window. The driver said, "Where you going, Griffin?" So you know where I'm going. I'm going home. A block and a half from the house. Or really a block, because it's short. And then over the speaker comes an announcement. Be on the lookout for this young man snatched this woman's purse. Gave a description and everything. Description was nothing like me. Mm-hmm. Well, Griffin, I guess that's you. We had to take you. What are you talking about? The description didn't fit me at all. Well, you're the first one we see. Get in the car. So they used to lock me up 2-3 times a week. Best going home. Let me out in the morning with enough time to get to school. I was going to Central High School. Number 2 school in the city at that time. I think that was the time they charged me with, because they just, what you want to be charged with? Don't make no difference. I'm robbing, whatever, don't make no difference. Because they got so that they wouldn't even fingerprint me, and I would just, and I had a cell waiting. I came in there, and the other cells would be crowded. I mean, one time 6, 8 people in the cell. My cell's empty. The turnkey opened the door. Griffin, you know where your cell is. I just going down the cell, open it up, cause don't be locked. Close it back. Lay on the concrete, you know, so-called bed. He let me out in the morning. Yeah, so my little girlfriends or friend girls,
Right.
we bring comb and one of me bring some of us perfume, deodorant and stuff, a rag. So I can't remember if it was that time or another time where they charged me with, I think it was that time, snatching this woman's purse. You know. Well, that was the straw that broke the camel's back, as they say, you know. The armed robberies and all of that, my mama, you know, yeah. But something about snatching a woman's purse, you know, got next to her. It really got next to her. So she's at work. Evidently, she had a lot on her mind. She wasn't acting like she usually acts. And so this white female friend of hers, you know, kept messing with her. What's the matter, Griff? What's wrong with you? You ain't right. Something's wrong with that. So my mama finally told her. So she said, listen, you don't have to take that. You call the police station and ask for the top person. And you tell that person the next time they arrest your son for no reason that you are going to sue them. You are getting you a big time lawyer now. Mm-hmm. And my mama did that. And they never arrested me again.
Good. So for them doing that, I'm not going to say you accepted it because it's unacceptable, but it just became
the norm.
And then a norm, so you just, I don't want to say played the game, but it had to have made you,
sure,
yeah, feel upset and
sure,
just disgusted
sure,
of the fact that you were in essence a victim of nothing.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
They just, you know, stand on the corner, walking down the street, doesn't matter. Give you a story, maybe this happened 10 years ago. We heard the story. My wife had became a Jehovah's Witness. Mm-hmm. So she knew the other Jehovah's Witness was not. So this one Jehovah's Witness just talking one day how Detroit is and was like that. And he took me back. Oh man, he took me back to the 40s. And was telling me how he came out to the grocery store. And they were standing outside by their car. And they asked him, "Oh, what you got there, boy?" And boy is a word that you don't call a black man, you know. So he said, I mean, it should be obvious. I just come out the grocery store. Mm-hmm. Oh, we got a smart nigga here. Let's see how fast you can run. And they would put me guns. So he knew to run, hoping they just wouldn't shoot. This was Jehovah's Witness. And then, of course, you know, a lot of young black men in jail that shouldn't be in jail. If they had any kind of money, because they got any kind of lawyer, they wouldn't be there. You know.
So before I ask Eric, so pertaining to what happened then to now, how do you feel now that people, I'll say majority white people, had an epiphany like, oh, now with cameras, now look what they're doing to, you know, African American black people. How do you feel about that? Because we all know, I mean, you know my story. It's not about me today, but, you know, 34 years ago when I met my ex, I saw things firsthand. But how do you feel? Because I sure as heck it bothers me to think now, like, oh, so the last few years, now because there's cameras on our phone, now you guys get it. But what about so many years ago.
You know, a lot of white people are racist, but they don't know they're racist. You know, it took me a long time to be able to say that, understand that. But, you know, after, you know, being around, they believe that some of their friends are racist, and they at the little parties and they go to talk about blacks and whatnot, but they don't participate. You see? No, that's not right. So they don't think they're racist.
Right.
And they'll speak to a person of color, whatever.
Right,
You know? And I guess when you look at it from that perspective, they're not racist. But what the point I think is this.
They're more dangerous to me. I would
Yeah.
think, you know, silence,
Yeah,
you know, is a lethal weapon.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. That's it.
I didn't want to do it, but thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Bob. I'm sitting right here.
If this is what it's going to be like at every episode, I could be in big trouble. Anyway.
You ain't heard some stories yet.
No, she hasn't. No, she hasn't.
You're gonna have to hear a towel.
Well, trust me, I had many stories I heard from my, I'll say, ex-mother-in-law who was in Chi-Town, South Side, and then Flint, Michigan. Oh, Michigan. Flint,
Yeah.
Michigan. So, yeah. I definitely...
Chicago, South Side?
Chicago, South Side.
She's white?
No. My Zach's father, my ex,
Okay.
his mother.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were
Yeah.
Chicago, originally Arkansas, but South Side,
Yeah.
Chicago, and then moved to Flint, Michigan,
Yeah.
which is, you want to talk about desolate. And once that car industry went, well, anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
that will be another episode one day.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Eric?
A lot of different experiences, but for the segment, I would, definitely concur with what my father has shared with you, his experiences, and when he said, he's been on this earth to share some experiences. How many years you have been blessed on this earth so far, Dad?
82.
82, nice.
Being on this earth 60 of those 82, I've experienced my own, different levels, different degrees. I think that growing up as a kid, I didn't see color, but I was cognizant of color. I knew about. I was a kid when the when we had the riots, civil unrest, whatever you want to call it, in the 60s, late 60s in Detroit.
67.
I had there was a curfew that the city had imposed, but, my grandmother had another curfew.
Right.
So that was, you don't go any further than 2 houses that way or to the alley.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it, period.
Right.
Unless you're going someplace and you're going in a car and people, so having experience, hearing my grandmother break down crying when hearing the news that Martin Luther King had been assassinated, just remembering that, hearing that scream and coming in there and seeing, floor model TV, what's going on, and understanding somebody got killed, but not really understanding the magnitude, understanding what she was going through at that time. And, remembering her saying when I was, I think I was about, maybe a junior in high school, and she was telling me, you can be anything in this. She says, I've never lied to you, baby. And she says, you can grow up to be anything in this world you want to be. She says, but fortunately, she says, I don't think, she says, in your lifetime, but maybe before your grandkids are grown, you'll be able to experience a black president. Mm. And she died, past 8 years before Barack became president. So that was just reflecting back on that. So as we have this talk about experiences, I've had, not to the same degree as my father has shared, especially with the police. But I've had interactions, been pulled over for no reason, and sat on the curb, and that kind of, as they say, profile. A lot of people, majority of black have, males have, with cameras, not as much than it was as when I was at, like for example, Zach's age, Adam's age.
Yeah.
It was, more prevalent.
Right.
But with cameras nowadays, it's less because of the fact that there's cameras.
Right.
But that's just bad behavior, period.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Bad behavior is negative behavior.
Right.
And if you don't condone negative behavior, then you're not ratting on your fellow coworker. You're correcting their negative behavior, and you're letting that person know that no, I'm working with you today, and that's unacceptable.
Right.
We're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna work smart. We're not gonna work stupid. And you're not gonna be able to change my narrative to tell you, as your coworker, we're in the same police car, that you're gonna know. I'm not gonna be able to justify that.
So, but how do you change the mindset? I say it all the time, change the mindset, change the perspective. But how do you do it where it's, like you said, generational?
You have to have dialogue. You have to have people, I believe, paying taxes, living in a city where they're generating their income. If they're working for a city or a governmental entity, if they're private, then they do what they do, because This is America. But if you're going to be the police for Los Angeles, you should reside in LA County.
Right.
If you're the police for Detroit, you should reside in Wayne County. Have property there that you're paying taxes on. You can have multiple residences.
Right.
But at least have something there that you establish yourself. And then, you're entitled to get the job. But now, as you're there, interact with your community. So if you're living in the city, so to speak, you're going to the grocery store in the neighborhood, you're going to interact with people.
Right.
Now you're going to see that, that lady, that guy, that young guy disciplines his son like I do mine. And I'm not talking about abuse, just like, hey, we don't do that. Or
Right.
tell them, okay,
Manners.
you know what, I'm taking this away from you. Or you know what, you didn't get your grades, okay, you're going to have to miss practice. What I'm saying, there's a cause and a cost for doing something that bad behavior and changing. But being in the community, interacting with people is a way to try to start that. Because people will see that everybody else is human beings just like them. And you have people in your family that you don't want to socialize with, but one big family reunion like everybody else does.
Right.
Doesn't have to be color, but since we're talking about that, and then people have to want to change.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if they have other experiences and they can see that, okay, this is the way that I was raised, and this was the narrative that was given me as a kid, so I didn't know anything better, and that there was an alternative to it. People want to talk about alternative facts. We can talk about alternative behavior.
Right.
There's facts. There's facts and there's a law. There is no alternative facts. President won. He was.
Right.
There is no alternative facts that he didn't win. You can think that and hope that. That's your opinion. That's your right. But it doesn't change the fact. But behavior-wise, we can change. A person can have grown up in a one extreme to the other, family environment, and they can still find some center of where what is right and just what we do as just human beings. You know what I'm saying? We don't, you and I met almost 28 years ago.
No. 25 years ago, yes.
25 years ago, sitting there while the boys just gravitated towards each other at a multicultural, internationally known beach, and just struck up a conversation. Mm-hmm. And it was, and I'm more of, wow, this is a person that we could really hang out with, my wife, but since she's not here right now, I can't go any further with the conversation other than, okay, and then just so happen my happenstance the next day, you guys meet again, so that was meant. Yeah. But just conversation.
Right.
You don't have to agree on everything. We don't agree on a lot of stuff.
Right.
We agree on a lot of stuff, but what we don't is not a deal breaker.
No.
Like, okay.
But I think, I know for me, you guys came at a time where I needed and wanted people in my life that were good, and as you said, we literally were meant in as you know, me being Jewish, it's a saying called Bashert, like God just wanted this to happen, because literally to go from one park to the very next day to another, and Deborah was there, was like, okay, God's saying you have to be in each other's lives. Like, I'm making this happen. For whatever reason, it's your choice to figure out why. And we obviously know, because almost 25 years later.
Yeah.
But I guess my thing is, if we want to talk, well, I don't want to get into politics, but don't you feel, or do you feel that we have gone backwards? Because I feel America has become so broken or confused. I mean, you know, I'm not from here. I was born in Canada, but I was raised here, and I don't get it.
I mean, you know, there's so many different levels. Okay, have we gone backwards in terms of our ideals and beliefs and the way we interact with people? On certain levels, yes. But there's a small percentage of people on any extreme that can get a lot of oxygen in the room, and then the average person is led to believe that that's the norm, that's the narrative, that's what everybody thinks, when in fact it's not.
Right.
If you get somebody that has to be on a witness stand under penalty of perjury, knowing that if they say something, they can be cross-referenced and there can be some repercussions, those people will tell the truth. When they know that they can be fact-checked and there's going to be some liability, or criminal or civil, whatever, now they're going to really tell the truth. That's when you level the playing field if you want to ask people these type of questions. When you don't have to be accountable for that, people can say, oh yeah, I like that person. Well, I like because of, you know, my investments have gone up, my taxes have gone down, etc. So I like this person in charge. You know, I may not like all the other stuff, but I like that. So he's not speaking to me on the other stuff. It doesn't affect me, so I'm cool with it. Even though I know it's wrong, I know I wouldn't do it. I know I wouldn't have my kids around it, right? But it is what it is. But when you ask that same person now, when they have something at stake, and they have to just be true, you say just be truthful.
Right.
Is that right? No, you know that's not right. I wouldn't have my kids do that. Oh, okay, but that's where we need to be at. And so when you ask that question, yes, we've gone back in some ways, but I think that I don't think it's a majority.
Yeah, but isn't the few the danger? Like I always say, it's not. Sometimes
they're only the danger if the majority don't speak up and don't speak up for what's right.
But many don't.
What is the percentage of that's really thinking that
well, you still have 70 million plus
that thinks that if you're not, you know, how many people really think that if you're not what it used to be the same was white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant, if you weren't that, you weren't, you know, a human being, so to speak. People don't think that. I mean, there's a small percentage of people, right? Yes. But that's an age demographic that's probably my age and older, and of trying to bring back through all these different social media platforms that old ideology that's outdated. It's not factual. It doesn't. I mean, we can factually disprove it, right? And the people can't back it up with anything. So you can believe that. That's your belief. That's America. We can believe whatever. But when it comes down to do you interact with those people? No. And so that, again, that's the minority. Don't give them a platform to think that everybody believes that. So is there hope? Yes. But if you think just that way, there's no hope. Everything is going down. Everything is bad. You know, I think the other way, that, you know, I'm blessed to have a fourth generation from my father, Griffin, and I want him to be able to, people to say, no matter what color they are, that August is a great little kid or August is a little knucklehead. Right. You know what I'm saying? But you never hear that, oh, that little black kid or that little blah, 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 blah. No. So that's my hope. That's my one. That's how I answer that question. Okay. Yeah. To circle back, Dad, what is it like now having experienced 82 years of life and lived in different cities, have lived out here before, you know, introduced me my first experience as a teenager to Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, as a matter of fact. What is it like now living back out here, now having a grandson and a great grandson, and being the oldest Griffin in our family, what does that mean to you? What are your thoughts and goals moving forward?
Well, God bless me. I wanted a son like Eric, and He gave him to me. You know, things happen in life. You know what I'm saying? And you can either sit back and cry, or you can get up, brush yourself off, and keep on stepping. You know, if you want to, be some or have some. So I tried to instill that into him and his brothers and sisters. One thing my family, we Griffins, you can't mess with us. You know what I'm saying? No, that's taboo. But on the flip side of that, we could never throw the first punch.
Right.
You see? No, my people didn't play that. Oh no. You have your space, you have your space. And my dad said, and the person that come up on your space, I tell him, hold up.
Mm-hmm.
And back up a couple steps. And now, this is my space, that's your space. I'm not coming over there. And if they keep coming on, now you can throw the first punch.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to get hit to start a fight. But we couldn't throw first punch. So,
That's what I used to tell my son. I never want to know that you started it, but if you have to finish it, I'll have your back.
My dad said, if they're too big or too many,
Run. No.
he said, run. He said, but not forever.
Right.
He said, run till you find your equalizer.
Oh, yeah.
And when you find the equalizer, that's when you stop running.
Right.
That's
funny.
Take care of your business.
That's funny.
I'm going to take you to Central High School, where I went to high school. My sister Gwen was 2 years younger than me, 2.5. My sister Dee, she was like 5.5 years younger than me. Then we in college, we was like 12. But so my senior year, my sister Gwen came to Central as a freshman, and I graduated, and then 2 years after she got there, my sister Dee come to Central. Now, we had a thing called study hall, which wasn't a class, it was where you met for 15, 20 minutes, and they take roll call. It was usually between the second and third class. So you go in, you sit down, takes a roll call. But then a lot of times, people are talking, So we got a new counselor, and you went by your last name initials. So ABC might be, etc. We got a new counselor, Miss Dye. And Miss Dye asked the class to be quiet. They kept talking. Then she asked them again to be quiet. And they were like laughing at her and whatnot, I could, tell, it was bothering her. So I just stood up and said, how many times you gotta tell everybody shut up? Everybody shut up. And she became like, this white lady became like my mother. Away from home, I could do no wrong. One thing you have so much time to eat your lunch and whatnot, a period. Well, I just go to lunch if I had bacon. Period after, I just stay. They write me up, send me back to the study hall. She writes up, send me back to them, and it said, don't worry about it. You see how thin he is. He has to eat more. So he needs more time. Yeah, she's a sweetheart. Now, here come Dee. I'm going to say it's second day, but I think it's the first day. Miss Dye called her name, called her to the desk. She said, I want to ask you something, young lady. Did you have a brother named Thomas Griffin went to Central High School? She said, I sure did. And I said, I knew it. Then Dee said, I got a sister go here too. Now, our last name, we're all in the same study hall. Miss Di said, you got a sister that goes here? She said, yeah. Miss Di said, what's her name? She said, Gwendolyn Griffin. Gwendolyn Griffin. I don't know. Gwendolyn Griffin? You talking about that's your sister? So Miss Di was like, because Gwen was so different. Gwen was quiet, studious, you know. You wouldn't even know she was there.
Wow.
You know, but me and Dee were, you know.
All over.
All over.
I love it.
Running everything.
Like my senior year in high school, I was a class president, captain of the basketball team, had a government studies class, and the government studies teacher was also the student body senior class president over us. And first week of class, same thing. People were coming in, making noise. Okay, let's settle down. So I just stood. I said, "Hey," I said, "Now, I know we're not going." I said, "I know y'all not gonna mess this up for me. This is my senior year." I said, "So she's here to teach. We're here to listen." I sat back down. Everybody got quiet. You know, we had a similar connection like that until I graduated. And even she came to our 10-year, our first reunion, our 10-year reunion. So
Nice.
just didn't know that until you said that story right now. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, I want to thank both of you very much, Thomas B. Griffin III and Eric. I love you both. I'm thrilled that you were here. That's our first episode, The Upside by Jana.
Thank you for having us.
Of course.
You know, I love this kind of conversation because I always, you know, felt I had something to give back to my younger generation,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I just, you know, as the years went, you know, you said, well, they don't want to hear you, you know, you're older, younger, how you gonna communicate, you know?
Right.
So you made me feel real good because I could see that going, you know?
Well, I'm glad. I'm
'Cause
glad.
I got some stories to tell you.
Well, then you'll be back.
You guys totally, one more story if you want to do it. We have what we need to cap the show and
Okay.
keep the good show going. So
And then you could add another story. Okay, is there
yeah,
another
if
story you want
wanna talk some
added?
more, please
And he
do.
could edit it.
Why don't you give him a teaser or something, and before you get to the, you know, don't go too yet.
I mean, trust me. Look, I'm willing. I have more episodes.
yeah,
that can
just
delve
give him
into
a
stuff.
teaser of Mozambique.
Mozambique. Okay. This was November 1970. It wasn't a bad night fall of the year. And this guy owed me some money. And it really wasn't the amount of money, you know, that you think about hurting somebody about, you know what I'm saying? It wasn't about that part, it was about the disrespect
Mm-hmm.
that they put down, you see what I'm saying? Which I couldn't let go. Some things, you know, in the street, okay, you have rules and regulations, just like square life, you know? And some things you can tolerate, some you can't. Some you have things you live by, you know. So this guy really disrespected me. I'm sitting in the club with my play sister. I had stopped by her and my play brother's house before I went. And she wanted to go, little Esther, this is singer, little Esther Phillips. I love Esther Phillips. She was performing there. And he didn't want her to go. What time we going? I can go with Tommy. All right. And when Tommy leaves, you bring your butt home. Like that. Okay, so make a long story short. The guy comes into the bar. I don't see the henchman. Okay, when I look up, he's walking past me. So I don't know that the henchman standing at the door. So I said, Lo and behold, maybe 20 minutes later, he gets up and comes back past me, so it goes outside. So I get up and I go to the door. I see who he's talking to. I said, oh, okay. We leaving in a minute. They do what they had to do. The car drove off. I stepped outside. I said, let me talk to you. So we go in the parking lot, and I asked him about the disrespect. I'm young and dumb, yeah. And in my feelings, that's the main thing, in your feelings, where I shouldn't have been. And he's like 5'9", maybe 5'10", about 5'8", 5'9", about 240. And I'm looking like this, maybe 10 pounds. And I hit him, thinking he would fight, but he wouldn't. And that really pissed me off. And so one thing led to another thing, I'm talking about my money, my disrespect. And he just acts like such a punk that I don't know, I lost it, And I grabbed my gun, and I hit him upside the head. I'm saying, punk, you won't fight? Pop. The gun went off. He fell. I said, oh shit. I look up and down the street and see no cars coming, so I said, well. And he said, don't shoot me no more, I ain't shot, he was faking.
Right.
I'm saying, because I didn't want to shoot him.
Right.
But I mean, I couldn't leave him, you know what I'm saying? So, from the streets, you see what I'm saying? So, I said, well, get up. I'm so glad he shot. I said, get up. So, I'm going to leave now. But I remember my place was still there and I got to take her home when I leave. So that means I got to go back in the bar, right? Because, I just left my car right there. So I go back in the bar, behind him, and when we get to where I'm sitting, we sit right where the bar starts. He stops. He stops and turns around and grabs me. He's like, what happened? He wouldn't fight out there. Oh, he needed a crowd. Oh, okay. Then the next thing I hear is a gunshot. I don't know I'm shot.
Oh, wow.
He was like pushing me, okay? People went to running and whatnot, so I would automatically look to where the gunshot come from. And I see this guy walking towards us with the gun in his hand. So by this time, this big guy, because he's bigger than 5'9", 250, 245, 250, he's got me, and we go over this table. Well, no, just before we go to, I see the guy with the gun in his hand, I started putting two and two together. He wouldn't fight, but now he would. Yeah, this guy. So I reach for my pistol. I don't have my regular gun. I got a little snub nose, we used to call them detective specials, 5-shot 38s. Little sucker. They usually have as a throwaway gun here and down here. And a big holster. All I can feel is just the end of the gun, the handle, just a little bit. And then I noticed something was wrong with my hand, I'm saying, what? And then I grabbed what I thought was the gun, but my arm is dead. And I come out with the holster and all. So just a little piece of the gun is sticking up. So I'm trying to hold this guy and push the holster off the pistol when we go over the table. And the holster and the pistol went sailing across the room. So the guy tried to get up. I had him by his collar like this here. This is where I was being. And I pulled him back down and tried to throw my leg over to keep him because this dude was walking up with the gun. Right? And just as he gets on top of me like this, I see my ex-wife, well, I don't say ex-wife, departed wife. She had got killed about 6 months before that in a robbery. And I seen her, and I said, Red. All this time I'm saying, I'm gonna kill them suckers. They killed my wife. If they kill me, cool, I don't care. You know. For some reason, I said, Red, I ain't ready to die yet. Well, basically because I hadn't caught them dudes. Okay. And she said, don't worry, baby. You're gonna be all right. And you're gonna get it real big. And the dude pulled that trigger. Now the first bullet hit me here. The second, third, fourth, fifth bullet, I felt the fire from the sparks from the gun because he was like this.
Oh, wow.
And on my face had to be like
Right,
that,
right.
you know? And then he stepped back. When he stepped back, I'm getting tired. This guy's a big guy. He's finding him this way, he's getting up. So I took one last roll with my leg to hold him back. This guy was stepping back, and he pulled the trigger that sixth time. And I felt that bullet hit me here. And I felt it go up.
Oh my
about
God.
right here. And I guess by that time I was weak. I couldn't hold him any longer. So I got 2 bullets in me, the first one and the sixth
Right.
one, you know. I staggered to my feet and barmaid, because somebody was saying, they shot Tommy, they killed Tommy. Well, she had a man, his name was Thomas Patterson, they called him TP. So she thought it was him. She come running up. When she come running up, I'm like, I felt all them bullets, right? And she come running, Tommy, and then she like, oh, it's you, Tommy. Oh, is you all right? Then it dawned on her, right? She must have been acting. But hey, I ain't mad at you because you thinking it's your man. You trying to check on your man, you know? So she said, you're not shot, because I'm feeling it.
Right.
You know, because the bullets hit me right here.
Right.
And I fired a couple shots. I managed to hit one of them in the hand. A friend of mine took me to the hospital.
Wow.
When I come out this coma, and my woman, she was sitting in a chair next to the bed, and Eric was standing right at my bed. What was he, about 10?
It's younger than that.
9? Yeah. 70? Yeah, about 8.
No.
8 or 9. And I was saying, hi, Bob. We call him Bob in the family. And he was like, hey, Dad. And I'm like, you all right? And he's like, can't hear you, Dad. And I'll speak again. Next thing he put his ear right down to my mouth. And soon I realized that I don't even have a voice, you know? And
We'll pause. We're going to end it right there.
okay.
All right.
Pick up at another time because there's more to unpack on that.
That was like a second chance to get shot like that. And I'm going to say, especially in 1970, I mean, I'm not saying how good were they with taking out bullets, but you know what I mean? Like, God, that's crazy. Well, I want to thank both of you very much. Thomas B. Griffin III and Eric. I love you both. I'm thrilled that you were here. That's our first episode, The Upside by Jana.